everyone, and welcome to Seller Strategies. This week's episode, we're going to talk about the 4 types of suppliers. Do you know which one you're dealing with right now? If not, stay tuned. Now, number 1, we have your trading companies. These trading companies usually are the middleman between the manufacturer and you. And because of that, they will make a cut anywhere between 5% to 20% or more, depending on the type of item that you're sourcing through them. And one thing about them is that one of the pros is that they have an export license. Now, this is not always the case, but usually for factories in the small to medium size, they will not have an export license because of how expensive it is. In that case, the exporting goes through the trading companies because a lot of the times they will have it. Now, again, this is not the case for all of them, but it does happen a lot. And then number 2, the second pro of trading companies is that they have a strong relationship with the factory. So that way they're able to help mitigate if any issues arise. And now we're going to move on to the con. Now, I just want to be clear here. There's no right or wrong or right way or right type of supplier necessarily. It all depends on your needs and what stage in your business you're in right now and what it is that you're looking for. All we're doing here is presenting you the 4 types of suppliers and what we believe are the pros and the cons. That's it. Now, moving on to the cons. For the trading companies, we have number 1. They tend to work with low-grade factories, again, medium, small to medium size. And because of that, they don't always pay attention to quality. Now, again, this is not always the case for all trading companies, but you do have to keep in mind, they have to make up for that 5 to 20% profit margin if they want to make money, which as a business, we all want to make money. So, and then number 3 is that they don't always have control over the factory unless they've invested money into the factory. If not, all they are is the middleman between you and the factory. You process the order, the funds come from you, and all they do is just be that middleman. Then we move on to your wholesalers or distributors. These are the ones that buy in bulk from the company, from the manufacturer, and generally just buy, and then just sell to you. Their pro is that a lot of the times you will be able to order lower quantities. If you're familiar with working with factories, you may have to order a minimum quantity of 10,000 units, 20,000 units or more. Whereas with wholesalers or distributors, if you want to do a test run of 10 items, 15 items, you can do that with them. However, you would pay a higher price per unit because you're ordering so few items at a time. One example of this is AliExpress. For those of you that may not be familiar with it, that is an app and also a website where you can find usually wholesalers, but you will find a little bit of everything. Sometimes even factories are there on AliExpress. However, the prices will be higher because you can order 1, 2, 3, 10 items at a time, the lower minimum quantities. And then number 3, we have your sourcing agent. The pros of working with a sourcing agent is that they're very valuable if you intend in offering multiple products because they are very good at contacting different types of factories, whether it's for the same type of product or different type of products. They know that they're usually working with you, not on a commission base, but more of a fixed rate. All they do is do that, the sourcing for you. They find the factory that would best fit your needs. And sometimes they also offer order management and help you handle the logistics for your order. And then one of the cons, though, is that sometimes the pay is commission-based, not always. So if you're looking to work with a sourcing agent, make sure you have that conversation up front that you want to pay based on a fixed fee as they find the factory for you and not on a commission per order quantity. Usually for the sourcing agents, you would find their offices located in Hong Kong or Shenzhen. And last but not least, the factory. This is the actual location and their representatives making your product. The pros, of course, this is the most profitable scenario because you're cutting all of the middleman and going straight to the factory, which you know would give you the best per unit pricing. Number two, you will be able to create a strong relationship with them because you're dealing directly with them, which is a huge plus. And number three, if you want to make any product edits or any improvements, it would be much easier because you're dealing directly with their engineers. So any changes can be, the communication is clear when it comes to any changes, just you and them directly. The con is that you must be very clear on your expectations and what it is that you want from the beginning. And you have to understand at least how the process is. You order the item, you tell them exactly what it is that you're looking for. Don't expect them to guess what you want. You have to be clear on what you want and precise. And the second con is that usually the order quantities are high. So if you're looking to do a test run, I do not recommend dealing with a factory from the get-go. If you want to do a test run, look for other options like a distributor. And then once you know this is the item I want to source, then you can look into factories or suppliers if you know you're going to go ahead and order a higher order quantity. Sometimes this can be negotiated, but just have your expectations set correctly that you would have a higher number of minimum order quantity with them. And again, just to keep in mind, when it comes to working with the factory directly, don't think of them as, they're the agent, I'm the customer, they have to do whatever I want. They're a partner with you. They're in here as a vendor, yes, but they will be a partner in your business. So you have to treat them as such and have right expectations. Get yourself knowledgeable of the process. Don't expect them to second guess because that will not be the case. I can share with you my own personal experience. A couple years ago, I want to say 6 years ago or so, I was doing bamboo earrings. And I had a factory make the backings for the earrings, what goes through your earring. And I worked with them so they could create my backing in the shape of a bear because that was my logo back then. And I wanted them to print the name of my brand. Because of lack of communication on my side, they printed the name on the wrong side, which was going to be covered with the earring. Now, was I going to get mad or upset because all that extra money that I paid for that printing was done wrong? No, because that was my mistake on not being clear. So just make sure you watch out for that and have the right expectations and communicate what it is that you want. And those are the 4 types of suppliers. What do you think, Ervin?
No, I think, Maria, you hit it out of the park. I couldn't have said it better, but some things I'd like to elaborate and drill down on is really be communicative with your supplier on what you want, what your expectations are, and what your terms are, even before samples are sent. Really, the initial starting point and the communication point is the most essential thing with your supplier. And that's what you would be able to gauge them, not just on their unit price, but how communicative they are when replying to your emails. Do they communicate in a short amount of time, or do they take days to respond and it doesn't seem like they answered your question? Now, another thing you mentioned was about the sourcing companies. I would like to add to the fact that a lot of these sourcing companies do in fact work on a commission basis. And one thing that you have to be clear before working with a sourcing company is that some of them will require a 3 to 5% commission, but what the biggest question that you want to ask is what their minimum order quantity is, because sometimes they would lay down a 5 or 10,000 MOQ for something that cost 35 cents, or something that may be priced a little bit higher. They could be okay with getting a lower MOQ. I had this experience myself. I went to EWU and I met the suppliers. They were very kind. They picked me up from the airport, drove me around the EWU market, sent me back to the airport, didn't charge me any fees. But in return, when I wanted to place the order with them, because of all these things that they've done, they said, oh, we actually want you to place a minimum order quantity of 15,000 units, which would end up making my initial order of this test product of about $20,000, which was a little bit too much than what I wanted. So I ended up working with another company after this experience. But just to be clear, it was they were okay with it. So it was a misunderstanding that we could have both avoided if we were more clear and we were more communicative with each other. One last thing is, when we work with all of these suppliers, there's no right or wrong company to deal with. It just depends on where you're at and what stage of the business you're currently in. I would say if you're fairly new to selling on Amazon, it's crucial and important that you start with contacting suppliers, even though you're not going with them, but just to go through the process of contacting suppliers, just to see how it feels like when you talk to these suppliers or companies in Alibaba, and then go through the process of vetting them out. But that's it for today, guys. If you found that today's content has been useful, feel free to comment, subscribe, and tune in for next week's sales strategies. And I'd like to know as well, where are you guys having problems with sourcing on China at the moment? Have you talked to suppliers at this stage of the game? And if you have, who are you dealing with? Are you dealing with suppliers, trading companies, or are you dealing with a sourcing agent yourselves to make your life easier? Let us know in the comment section below. Keep crushing it on Amazon, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.